Known for its famous landmarks and incredible museums, Washington, D.C. is a fascinating place to visit in the US. This is Katie from Creative Travel Guide, and today we share the things to know before you go to Washington, D.C. Looking for more travel tips? Make sure to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. So firstly, let's look at the best time to visit. September to November and March to May are the best months to visit Washington, D.C. This is when the weather is at its most pleasant and there are less visitors to the city. The summer is warm and high season for tourists, so you can visit at this time, but expect busier sights and attractions. Winter is low season, so you can expect to find cheaper hotel rates during this time. As the capital of the US, there are plenty of options for those traveling into Washington, D.C. Many choose to fly here, with 3 major airports nearby connecting you to most cities in the US, but also plenty of international destinations as well. From Reagan Airport, you can catch a metro or taxi into the city centre. From Washington Dulles, a taxi is the easiest option, and the Silver Line Express bus can also be used to get to the nearest metro rail station, whilst the Baltimore-Washington Airport is a little further away, but an Amtrak train route connects the airport to Union Station in the city centre. For those looking to avoid flying, you can catch the Amtrak to DC from plenty of cities across the northeast and southeast of the US, and Megabus offers some affordable routes to Washington, D.C. too. So now let's look at getting around. There are plenty of options for you to get around Washington, D.C. Firstly, the city is fairly compact, so you can walk, bike, or use a scooter to get around plenty of the sites in the city centre. You can easily spend your time avoiding all public transport and stick to walking between the major sites. The Capital Bike Share program has over 350 stations across D.C., Virginia, and Maryland, making for a great option for those wanting to cycle around. We recommend getting the hop on, hop off sightseeing bus if you are short on time. This takes you to all of the major attractions and gives you a chance to see it all in just a few days. We will leave the link in the description below. Washington also has great public transport. Metrobus runs hundreds of routes throughout the city and the greater DC area, while the DC Circulator is a great option for those traveling between the neighborhoods, especially if you're visiting on a budget. The Metro is a busy, popular transportation option connecting you to plenty of areas of DC and beyond. So now let's look at typical prices. There are some decent hostels in Washington, D.C., but they aren't too central. However, those traveling on a budget can find a hostel dorm bed for around $50 a night in the quieter seasons. Budget rooms in good locations begin at around $150, mid-range hotel rooms start at $190, and luxury hotels start at around $250 a night, but can be double that during the busier times of the year. A basic meal from a cafe can be found from around $8, whilst fast food options cost around $6. Mid-range restaurants or bars cost around $20 per meal, whilst a sit-down high-end dinner begins at $60 per person, but can be much more than that depending on the restaurant and the location. Washington, D.C. isn't the most budget-friendly destination, but there are some ways that you can save some money. Firstly, spend time visiting the free museums and monuments. This is a great way to see what the city has to offer without spending a penny. You could also choose to take a free walking tour with companies like Free Tours by Food or DC Walkabout. Plan your itinerary to include sites near one another, saving money on traveling between sites, and use the metro to get to sites further away. Book your hotel in advance and avoid eating around the National Mall. These can be expensive options. Instead, eat at the restaurants nearer the colleges and universities, or try some of the Asian restaurants for cheaper meals. So now let's look at the best things to do in Washington, D.C. Firstly, begin with seeing the iconic monuments and landmarks. Lincoln Memorial is a must-see site in D.C., and just a short walk from here is the Vietnam Veterans and the Korean War Veterans Memorials. Also, make sure to see the Washington Monument, the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, and the Thomas Jefferson Memorial before seeing the famous White House. Washington DC has many museums, so spend time exploring the best on offer. The Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History is one of my favorites, as is the National Air and Space Museum and the National Museum of African American History and Culture. The International Spy Museum is a fun option for families, as is the National Zoological Park. Take a relaxing walk through the Botanical Gardens, catch a Washington Nationals baseball game, and take a food tour around the city. Enjoy a walk around the tidal basin, visit the World War II Memorial, and spend some time exploring the historic Georgetown. Watch this video to find out the 10 best things to do in DC. Then, to find out how to travel on a budget in the USA, watch this video. We hope you have an incredible time and stay creative.